Welcome to the CineBeards review and discussion of Blade Runner 2049.
Woo!
We're going to start with a short review, spoiler-free for the people who haven't seen it yet, followed up by a in-depth discussion about the movie for the people who have.
Or people who don't mind spoilers.
Yeah.
And the spoiler-free review is probably going to be all of 15 seconds.
Yeah, I think I'll actually just hand it over to Marcus now for that review.
It's a bona fide masterpiece. Go watch it on the biggest screen available to you.
End of review.
End of review. Literally. Don't listen to anything else. Just go watch it.
Yeah.
Except, like, the rest of the actual review that we're going to do
Yeah,
now.
dude, listen to that.
Like, continue listening to this, and then go and watch it.
Or download this and then go listen to it in the car on the way to the film.
So, to get stuck into it properly, Blade Runner 2049, it's the perfect sequel for a movie that's 35 years old.
No, it's just the perfect sequel.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were initially worried, well, at least Marcus was, about Hans Zimmer coming on as composer for the movie, but he fucking killed it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was in an unaired pilot.
Maybe you guys will hear it one day.
One day, Dion mentioned that...
You erred in the unaired pilot.
I erred in the unaired pilot. It was like, I don't know if Hans Zimmer is the right choice for Blade Runner 2049. Dion told me that no, he is the right guy because he is, in essence, a synth junkie. Mm-hmm. And he was right. And I was wrong.
Yes! I will savor this moment for all time.
You may savor it for as long as you want because you were legitimately right.
No, I was so happy with the soundtrack. It was just everything I could have dreamed. It's just fat, classic synth sound, a whole bunch of modern sound design, mixed together, perfect fusion of the old and the new, but the new was always in service of the old. It was like just this perfect modern love letter to the original soundtrack.
It sounded effortlessly analog, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's like how... It's what you expected it to sound like, but in the best possible way.
Yeah. It just sounded fat and just perfect. It's just, and I mean, you're listening to this on an IMAX sound system, and it's just shaking you to the core.
You are listening to this on an IMAX sound system.
We hope.
We hope.
CineBeards, now in IMAX locations around the country.
Yeah, so the movie itself to me felt like the equivalent of reading a novel. Like, the way I felt watching that movie is how I feel when I'm reading a really, really good book.
But yeah, I mean, that was the first thing you said to me after the film ended, aside from, fuck.
Yeah, a couple times. I think I said it a couple times.
Yeah. Now, my wife will corroborate this, but apparently my first words after the movie were, holy fucking God.
Yeah?
That sounds about right.
But yeah, you definitely felt the length of the movie while watching it.
Yeah.
But at no point were you ever bored or wanting it to end.
Yeah, it was just so perfectly paced, and it took its time. It doesn't patronize the audience. It doesn't underestimate the audience. It knows that people want to live in this world. They want to feel this world. They don't want anything rushed. They don't want anything glossed over. And it's just, everything was just so sumptuous.
It was modern day noir at its best.
It was rich, like, color-wise. It was rich sound-wise. Acting was astonishing.
I was really happy to see a bit of range from Batista.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
that was like I was like, what?
Yeah. No. He is just like one of those sort of gems that Hollywood has managed to uncover.
Like, it's not a poor performance in the mix, and like a lot of people I know had like. I don't know if Gosling's the best thing for this, but clearly those are people who never saw The Nice Guys.
Yeah, can people just accept now that Ryan Gosling is a good actor, man?
Yeah, end of story.
Deserves these roles, because he does.
Yeah, and I mean, he's working his ass off throughout this movie.
Right?
Like Michael Fassbender, cough. Sorry, I had something stuck in my throat.
Sorry, Thomas.
Yeah, sorry, Thomas. But yeah, I mean, he's working his ass off. And Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He was just, it was like what you said, you know? Yeah. He was just decadent.
Oh yeah, something you mentioned, Dion, is that in this movie, unlike in Force Awakens, Harrison Ford being there didn't pull you out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Force Awakens fan. I mean, you know, like, I don't bag on it.
Some might even call you an apologist.
Apologist? Why would you need an apologist for something so objectively good?
I don't know. Like, there are apologists for everything these days.
I guess. I apologize. Oh, I see how it works now. But yeah, one thing that critique I did have of Force Awakens was the fact that by the time Harrison Ford showed up, I was so invested in Finn and Rey and BB-8 that it pulled me out of the film. And the whole film, I was very conscious of the fact that I was watching Harrison Ford be Han Solo. He very rarely felt like Han Solo.
Yeah.
It's something just felt... I think it was because he came in sort of, the dramatic hero shot. I mean, you can't really go up from there. Whereas with this one, I almost never was conscious of, hey, I'm watching Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is Deckard.
Yes.
I understand. It was him.
Yeah.
It was the character. He was excellent.
Yeah, he was literally playing the character he was born to play.
Jared Leto showed that he can still act even though Suicide Squad
they should
happened.
really just let him be like a weirdo in movies, and he nails it.
You mean just be himself?
Yes.
The thing is, this wasn't try-hard weirdness.
No,
Joker was all the stuff around the set and him mailing condoms to
and dead rats allegedly.
That kind of really try-hard crap. It just felt artificial, and here it just felt sincere and considered. And I mean, that's partly someone who is actually a good actor.
Yeah.
And also just excellent direction.
Excellent direction.
And editing.
Yeah.
It was just, all the actors were given room to breathe. And just being invested in getting the best performances instead of just, okay, we have to get through this, let's slap a bunch of green screen on everything.
Yeah.
And we'll fix it in editing. This felt like, some of these scenes may as well have been out of a play.
Yeah. It feels like he had 10 years to make this movie.
Yeah, it actually does.
It feels like he had all the time in the world to craft this movie. And he didn't screw it up like what's-his-name did with Boyhood.
Okay, so I think in conclusion, just go out and watch this movie already.
Yeah, I mean, we could just stand here and sit here and just rant about it
the
vaguely for days and days.
Yeah,
but
the last thing I'll say that's spoiler-free is that even in 3D, because I know there are people out there that are reticent about the 3D, IMAX 3D, well worth the price of admission. I cannot speak to regular 3D though.
No, I mean, I avoid regular 3D like the plague, just normal. But the IMAX 3D, it's bright enough, it's big enough, the depth, and that's the thing is, when people think of 3D, they think of how gimmicky it was when it was introduced, stuff coming out of the screen at you.
Yes.
That's bullshit. It's all about depth.
Yeah. And Blade Runner uses that, or 2049 uses that depth.
Scenes in the rain.
Depth.
See, where you're flying through the rain and you just see the cityscape stretching out. It's depth perception. You have two eyes for a reason, and it really
it benefits so much.
If your only option is sort of choosing between a normal 2D screen and a 3D IMAX screen, and you're a little cautious, go to the 3D IMAX.
Yeah.
No, without a doubt. Spoilers incoming. Stop now if you want to avoid spoilers. Spoilers.
All right, spoilers.
Also, there were spoilers.
Discussion time.
All right, Deckard dies. Okay, you see, now if you were like, oh my goodness, I don't want to know that, you shouldn't have stuck around, but you're lucky, because that may or may not be a spoiler.
And we will not reveal.
And it's your own fault going into the film with that ambiguity now for not turning this off.
Yeah, that's on you, man.
I'm punishing
I gave you like 30 seconds of me saying spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it was nice to listen to, so maybe someone got caught by surprise. Okay, Deckard doesn't die. Oh god, but that's also a spoiler. Deckard's in the film.
It's too late now.
Yes.
It's too late now.
Yes, we can say he's in the film because that was objectively true from the trailer.
Yes.
Deckard is in the film.
As is Ryan Gosling.
He is.
What? Dude, come on.
And so's Harrison Ford.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's actually get into this discussion now. The opening scene in that movie, where it's those chords and it's on an eyeball.
Yeah.
What did you say? He's
What did
planting
you say
a
earlier?
flag.
Now, I was like, I sat there, I heard that chord, I saw that eye, I teared up, and I was like, this is Villeneuve planting a flag and saying, this is Blade Runner, motherfucker. You're gonna watch it now.
And we did, because we were in the cinema and
Yeah.
we paid money.
I was surprised by the amount of restraint that Villeneuve used Like 90% of the movie passes before Harrison Ford even gets involved.
Yeah.
He arrives 1 hour and 45 minutes into the movie around
Yeah.
there.
Okay,
I was
so
actually-
like 75% of the movie.
I was
Yeah.
wondering about it as it was going on. Oh, I wonder when he's going to show. Oh, it's going to be now. Oh, no. Oh, it's going to be. Oh, no. It's not. And yeah, it was
Yeah,
just
because
perfectly
they show
paced.
him. They show Kay, the character Kay, who, spoiler alert, because we're in spoiler territory. They actually say in the beginning of the movie is a replicant.
Yeah, they don't hide that at all. They kind of gave it
Yeah.
away in the trailer, which I was
Yes.
worried about. Like, oh, did they give the big twist away in the
Yeah.
trailer that he's actually a replicant? But right in the beginning of the movie, they're like, no, he's a
Yeah.
replicant.
Yeah,
but
and that's
this-
great because they then introduce a mystery which you feel like, or at least I did, you feel about sort of as it goes on, like, oh, I've solved this, and
Yeah,
he's
I know
discovering
exactly
it,
what you mean.
and then bait and switch.
Yeah, it's like-
oh, what a
Oh,
twist!
that
was
is
so
just it's such a
brings us-
well-crafted detective story.
Because they
Which
make
brings
you
us
think
neatly-
you've solved the mystery, and
Before
you're
the
feeling
character.
very cocky, and
Yeah.
it feels like the character, it's dramatic irony, they're catching up with you.
Yeah.
They're gonna see it now, and then,
Sorry, go ahead.
Now, can we jump back to the beginning of the movie?
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do
Fantastic,
that. We
because
went off on a little
I-
tangent like we like to do.
We like to do. I remembered something when I saw that sequence, the opening sequence of Kay in the farmhouse with Bautista's character. That was because honestly, if you haven't watched it yet, watch the Dangerous Days documentary on the making of Blade Runner. 4 hours long, all good.
Oh wow, I have to see that. I
I've
haven't
got
seen
it.
that.
I'll loan you my copy. It's a phenomenal piece of documentary filmmaking. Anyway, that sequence, how it plays out, is pretty much beat for beat how the original opening for Blade Runner was going to be.
Oh,
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was going to open on Deckard, sitting in a farmhouse with a pot boiling. The day passing and it goes dark. Someone walks in, offers him some soup, and then Deckard's character is like, the guy asks him, "Who are you with?" He says, "I'm a Blade Runner," and then just shoots the guy in the head because he knows the farmer is a replicant already. So basically, Villeneuve took cutting room floor stuff that hardcore fans would know about and put them in this movie. I'm a hardcore Blade Runner fan, in case it hasn't been made obvious.
Yeah,
And I was so happy that they actually did things like that.
that's awesome. I mean, even just someone who doesn't know that, doesn't
Yeah.
have that background, I felt that was just such
It was
a
a
strong opening.
brilliantly staged, and I want to use that term staged because it
Yeah.
feels
And that the pot boiling is such a good device because it just adds the sense of urgency to it the whole time.
yeah.
And it's the sense of normalcy, but also the sense of urgency to it.
Yeah.
And you're so off kilter because you feel like the stakes are really high here.
Yeah.
And you start understanding what's happening, but the pot just keeps on boiling.
Yeah.
It just feels the way that was constructed was so good.
Also, with the garlic thing that he says,
Yeah.
where he's got that just for himself, makes him relatable. That's one thing the movie does really, really well, is kind of blurring these lines. Like, blurring the lines between human and replicant, and
Yeah.
then replicant and AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's these scenes
There's a
with
whole
his,
subplot with AI.
yeah, with his sort of his girlfriend.
Yes, his AI girlfriend.
Which is this AI, and you start feeling like this is one of those tropes where, oh, this specific AI has evolved or is more intelligent than the other AI or
Yeah.
is more human. And then when he's standing there on the bridge later on and he
Oh.
sees the giant hologram and it
And-
actually has the name that she
Yes.
calls
Yeah,
him.
it's got Joe there.
Yeah, and we this just that realization.
It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is because it's it's so well done because you start wondering and you're sitting there the whole time like, wow, she's really exhibiting.
Is she
human...
special? Is she a tear in the rain? So
Yeah, I mean,
to
and then
speak?
when her sort of her what do they call the little stick?
I think it was called the satellite or something.
no,
She
no.
called it her prison. I know
No,
that.
her prison was the
Her prison was the thing
in
that
the
oh,
house. That
yes.
was
and then
the
she was so happy that
that
she
was
was
her
free from
Yes.
it.
freedom was the other little
his,
thing.
Yeah.
It was his bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
his bonus, his
where
anniversary gift. to
where he
her.
could carry her around with him.
Oh, that baseline.
And then
twist.
and then when
Sorry.
and when she and then when that gets trampled on, you know, it
Oh,
felt
by
like
love.
it felt like an
like
act-
it's and
Yeah.
and love stamps it out.
yeah, and it
Oh.
felt like a human character
Dying.
dying, and it's great because you have these levels. You have the actual humans, and then you have the replicant, and then you have the AI.
Yeah.
And it's just blurring the lines between all
Yeah.
of them.
And it also showed you how each one kind of has prejudices towards others. Because there was the whole skin jobs thing between the humans and the replicants. And then that replicant hooker as she was leaving the room.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she
It's
said,
like you're
I've been
empty.
inside you. Yeah, there's not as much as you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That scene as well. How tastefully done was that
That
scene?
was beautiful. Like, that was some of the most impressive, like, CG superimposition that I've ever seen.
If you were to tell me like 5 years ago, or even 2 days ago, that the most tasteful sex scene in a movie
is also a
would
threesome
be a
with
threesome
a hologram.
between a hologram and two
robots.
artificially created humans.
Yeah. And what I like about it is that it's not afraid to be imperfect. Because what you'd normally find in a film is, when she'd say, like, all right, keep still, I have to sync,
Yeah.
with you. From there on, the movements would be perfectly synchronized
Yeah.
and everything. But it's not. It's like a real technology.
Yeah, it's like how technology, like when after the car crash in the Badlands, where the girlfriend also starts glitching.
yeah, she's
And
glitching
just wait, when he receives a call,
Yeah, she just
an
freezes.
emergency call, and she just sort of freezes,
Yeah.
and then this prompt on the side
Yeah.
comes up. It's so real. It just
Yeah.
feels like a continuation of present day technology,
Yeah.
and it's those sort of user experience issues that have been part of technology from the beginning and
Yes.
will probably always be a part of it. It's not sort of this perfect thing.
It's not Star Trekking up the technology.
Yeah.
If that makes
Yes.
any sense.
Makes perfect sense. I kind of want to try and move chronologically through the movie, because I really just want to talk about the end.
Well, let's talk about the end.
That scene there where
We can always go back.
Kay's busy sitting on the steps dying, and the same music plays from when Roy Batty gives his speech about tears in the rain and he dies.
Yeah.
Oh, I had fucking goosebumps during that scene.
Ryan Gosling does know how to die on screen.
Yeah. he's
Like,
good
that
at
was a beautiful, like, it sounds kind of morbid, but that was a beautiful death.
And it was, I mean, it's a running theme of, sort of the most human thing you can do is to give your life for a cause.
Yeah.
And here's sort of this cause of, like a father and his daughter. And it's all going back to that thing that Batista said right at the beginning, you've never seen a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just
And he-
ties the whole
Yeah,
thing
and
together.
he dies before he can see that miracle, and it's just so.
Well, he dies so that a
brilliant.
miracle can come to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
'Cause
He
it-
himself never witnesses a miracle, but he starts believing in miracles.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to be as human as he can be.
Yeah.
And I think after having his heart broken and like he's not human, he's told he wasn't born. He was created. Those
Yeah.
memories were put into him. He's not the one that was born. His last chance at being as close to human as possible would be giving up his life
But
for
what,
a
Yeah.
cause.
but what
Exactly.
a heart-wrenching moment when
Yeah.
the weapon is like,
Oh,
"Oh,
man.
you thought?
Oh, did you
think you were the child?" I was like,
And we
We all did.
we all wish we were.
"Yeah,
Yeah. It's
Oh.
terrible. Question for you, Marcus. You may have
Yes.
been paying closer attention to me. That memory that he has, that he sort of sees as his own, would that have been a standard memory? Would he have been would someone have consciously implanted that in him with this end game in mind?
You see, that is
Because I feel with him being a Blade Runner and having certain resources at his disposal, to me it seems like something that would be intentionally done for
no,
that
it would be
specific
because
replicant.
remember, within the lore that this movie like sets up, also it is illegal to use real memories and implant them into replicants.
Yeah, but can you implant the same fake memories into multiple replicants?
of course.
Yeah, so my question
Yes.
is, did they specifically say, okay, this replicant, which will be a Blade Runner, we're specifically putting this memory in so he will follow this trail of breadcrumbs? Or is it just...
You see,
memory
the,
put
the
into a
thing
bunch
is,
of
like,
them.
he is a Wallace. Like, well, the way I put the dots together is he is a Wallace model replicant because he's the only one that makes them
Yeah.
in this future. And the reaction of I can't remember the character name, the memory artist.
Yeah.
Her reaction to that memory, like she knows, and in her eyes you can see she recognizes him. So I'm fairly sure she herself planted that memory in him.
But she doesn't ever leave her bubble. So,
but no,
she
I
wouldn't have...
don't think she recognizes him before, like when he just walks into the room
Yeah.
and she's busy working. I don't think she
No,
recognizes
she
him.
recognizes
because
him
she-
after seeing the
Because
memory.
she does,
Yeah.
because
As
she
soon as she's-
herself wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
have implanted the memory because she can't leave.
No, but she
Her
hands
bubble.
over. Like, it's a lore thing. Like you have to go in pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
But the way she basically delivers memory by Dropbox,
Yeah.
Okay.
and they get like
Yeah,
they
no,
don't
but-
even really
but-
get
but-
screened when
but
they
she,
get
yeah,
put in the replicants.
but she wouldn't have put it in for a specific. I mean, I doubt he himself, like he as a replicant, was sort of
No,
like
it
a
could- it
once
could
off
have been-
Is
custom
this just a
order.
memory that she's created then for the corporation, and they're like, okay, out of these 2 million bots or these 2 million replicants, 5 of them will get these memories, 5 of them will get these
yeah,
memories.
it would be set up for a Blade Runner model replicant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
so are there
it-
other Blade Runner replicants walking around that are going to end up following the same trail of
It is
breadcrumbs?
entirely possible. Yes.
I'd love to. On the one hand, I actually don't want to know. You know, sometimes these things are better left a mystery.
Yeah.
But I would like to know just the sort of the film Bible. You know,
Yeah.
the background that wasn't necessarily explicitly given. What is the actual story
But you have to.
there?
What you also have to remember is Kay is still special, in the sense that he is the only Blade Runner left in the LAPD. They actually make a point of that. He is
Yeah.
the last. He is the last of his kind. So if she did implant that memory into, Blade Runner replicants, he would be the only one to have that
That's a
memory.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she.
I don't know if she expected anything to come of that,
Yeah.
but I think
It could just be that this is a memory of hers that she just happened to use,
Yes.
and it happened to sort of serendipitously. But I'd also like, if there is sort of this broader conspiracy or the sort of more pieces at play, I would have loved to see, not in the film necessarily, but maybe in ancillary materials or one of these short films that they've been making.
which I still haven't watched because I was so afraid that they would contain spoilers.
Oh no,
No,
nothing, and they're
no
so
spoilers.
tasty.
Yeah, no,
They
I'm
are
going to
so
I'm going to
good.
go watch them in sequence tonight.
Different director.
Yeah, different director for each one.
But
The third
excellent.
one is animated, I believe.
Yeah,
I haven't
which
seen
is
the
the
animated
first one chronologically, I think. Because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
animated
it's
one
the
is
first one
2022.
yeah, it's
2022.
Yeah, it's the blackout that they refer to in the movie.
Yes.
The animated,
I need
the
to see
short
that
little
one.
animated thing is about that. Then
Which
it's
they actually-
2036 where Wallace.
Neander Wallace does his thing, and then
Does
it's
thing.
2048, which focuses on Bautista's character, Sapper.
Well, yeah, and it basically reveals how they knew that he was a replicant and where he was.
But I can't wait to get this thing on home release on a physical Blu-ray disc, so I can get the
Yes.
closest, biggest possible, crispest image, so I can pause whenever I want to.
So many desktop backgrounds.
Yeah. No, but every shot feels like a piece of living art. Like, I know that's a very film nerdy,
Yeah.
like film geek thing to say, like, oh, it's so pretty, but guys,
Yeah.
seriously.
And so many practical sets as well.
Yeah.
Like I've seen sort of behind the scenes photography, and it's astonishing.
The blend of practical and CGI that they've used in this.
It actually takes me back to the last time that I saw something that seamless, which was Mad Max.
Yes.
The combination of practical effects and extremely tasteful CGI.
There was only one tasteless bit of CG in Mad Max Fury
That's
Road.
when
Is
the
that
crash, the guitar coming towards
Yes.
the screen.
You'd actually be surprised how much of that shot was practical.
No, I watched the. I was.
But but I agree with you.
That was just the one
That was
little-
one element too many. I agree
But that was.
completely.
But I know that was like George Miller just being like, "Hey yo," you know.
having a bit of fun.
Having a
but
bit
I
of
mean,
fun.
other than that, where
Yeah.
where you go and you see the before and after shots, you know, like the pre CG and the post,
Yeah.
and it just heightens it the whole time.
Yes.
It serves the practical effects, and I felt the same thing with this.
No, definitely.
Oh, and I actually like the one thing that they did, which is almost a little janky, was the cars, the vehicles when they're flying, and they actually have that chroma key effect
Yes.
against the
Yeah.
background where it's sort of very slightly shaky,
Yes.
and it just felt so authentically sort of 80s 90s kind of special effect. Like I think that was very deliberately done.
Yeah, very deliberately done to make it feel the same way
Everything.
that
So
the
it doesn't
original
feel sort of.
Everything
So it doesn't
in
feel
this film.
overly smooth or anything.
Like,
it just felt.
everything in this movie is deliberate. Like
Yeah.
there is not non-deliberate move made in this film.
including how they introduce you to Deckard, which for me, the second I saw him, because you hear his voice first, then you turn around, you see him, and
Would
you
you happen to have some cheese?
yes, exactly that, and you turn around and you see him in a very familiar pose,
Yes.
and that just helps solidify that no, this isn't Harrison Ford, this is Deckard.
Yeah, he's immediately
they
a
This
hints-
is
character.
that
But
character.
but what I liked about the introduction in
Yeah, the
I can't talk-
introduction.
the introduction. I can't speak tonight. The introduction of Deckard is when Kay is walking through this whole hotel where Deckard has holed himself up. You can like it tells you the story of the years Deckard has spent there. I mean, up to where
all the
it pans,
piles of bottles.
like all the piles of bottles, all these traps. Like you really know that this man has been hiding for his life.
Yeah.
and you know he hasn't left in a long
Yeah,
time.
you know he
because
hasn't
see
left in
every
a long
one
time.
of Kay's footprints in the
Yes.
dust in the lobby.
Yeah.
Yes. Things like
He's-
that.
Yeah, no, it's so detailed, and again, it just takes its time revealing all of it.
Oh, but that whole Las Vegas sequence, the introduction with the sandstorms and everything.
With Elvis and with Sinatra, and so good.
Yeah.
Oh, there's actually an image out there on the interwebs of that fist fight that they had with Elvis and that and there. Harrison.
Just to clarify, if you haven't seen
They
the
don't
film, they
actually
don't have a
fight.
fist fight with Elvis.
Yeah.
yeah, but
They have a
Elvis
fist
is in
fight
the
and Elvis
background,
is in
and
the
then
background.
Kay and Deckard are having a fist fight.
Don't get
There's-
excited.
There's an image out there online of just a shot after an incident had happened, and the incident was that Harrison Ford actually made contact with Ryan Gosling,
Oh yeah.
like properly punched him in the face. And the picture is Harrison Ford just pulling back and just making this face of like, what have I done?
This poor sweet boy. I mean, Ryan Gosling must look like a child to him.
Yeah,
Must be
I'm
like
pretty
hitting a
sure he
child.
does. Yeah. But no. Oh, but one thing that I did also note, that I think we should actually put a link if we can find photos, like the Las Vegas introduction. That
Yeah.
we're so orange and everything. That's actually the look for that was based on a real life occurrence,
Yeah.
which was the Sydney dust storms in 2009. Like you guys have to see photos. It looks exactly like
Oh
that.
wow.
And
I'll look for them and if I find them, I'll link them.
yeah, and Roger Deakins actually confirmed that yes, that was the inspiration for that whole look with this whole orange.
So it looks amazing. It looks like it looks like a 90s game, you know, with the draw distance so close.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all, yeah, it adds to that sense of mystery and that sense of potential danger and
Yeah.
that when he's looking out into the storm, you know, like for like the ship that's found him.
And it's just that
Yeah,
little
it's just
light
that like
in the
little
distance.
little glint.
Yeah.
Tasty.
Oh, that's so good. And in that same scene when he walks up to the bees and the one little bee starts crawling on his hand, like a throwback to the interview questions.
Yes.
It's good.
So there are a lot, like having watched the original Blade Runner recently, there are a lot of scenes that are recreated from the original film. Like a good example, maybe too much on the nose example, but it still works, is where Kay is sitting at the piano, where he
Yes.
finds the little box. Like
he-
that's the exact key and the same type of piano that Deckard was playing with in his own apartment. And I think that's also part of. I think that also adds to the mystery because as a fan of Blade Runner,
Well, that
you
could-
pick those things up and you're like, wait, maybe he is Deckard's son.
Yeah.
Because he's following the same beats. Maybe he is the child replicant.
well, clearly he's been implanted with the memories to be similar enough to Deckard, so he is in effect Deckard's son, kind of, but like a created son rather than a born son.
I mean, they do
Because
make a
he's
point.
got the memories of his child, and he has obviously got a lot of stuff in him to make him Deckard-like.
Yeah, well, they in the original movie, I mean, the reason they pull Deckard out of retirement is because he was, quote, the best Blade Runner that ever lived.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason that Wallace's company would use like case files from Deckard's Blade running days to program Blade Runner replicants.
Also,
If-
I would like to point out that. Sorry, continue your thought. I'll bring it back now.
That is if Deckard himself is in fact a replicant,
That's what-
which we still don't know for sure. I was so afraid,
I
and
was so happy
Villeneuve
they
left
kept
it
that
so
ambiguous.
open-ended. I was
It
like,
was one
yes.
because in one moment it felt like they were confirming it,
Yeah.
and then it was like, nope, no,
No.
ambiguous.
It's like you got the fandom. You get to decide for yourself.
Yeah.
What you want to believe. And
What
you
do
know
you
It's
think,
fine.
Jason? Do you think he's a replicant?
I like to think he's a replicant, and the fact that he's brought out of retirement because he is the best Blade Runner. It's just this Blade Runner kind of archetype that they keep bringing back when they need it.
That's why I'm really looking forward to rewatching Blade Runner because I haven't
Yeah.
seen it in quite a few years, and there's a lot of stuff that's sort of, like I've got scenes like mixed between like Fifth Element in my head and Blade Runner,
yeah.
stuff like that. Where it's hazy enough like
Yes.
that, which I'm actually very happy about because now I get to go rewatch Blade Runner
And
with
then
the sequel in
rewatch.
mind,
Yes.
and then go to the IMAX again and watch the new Blade Runner again. I think it's great because I got to go in almost as someone who hasn't seen Blade Runner. Not quite, but sort of close enough
Yeah.
to how someone who's fresh to it and how accessible it was.
Did you have that little oh damn moment then when they went into the archives to find the mother of this replicant
I
baby
did.
that was
I
born,
had.
and she put in the little memory thingy, and it was Deckard
was
interviewing
Rachel.
Rachel,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
had this little oh damn moment.
Yeah.
As soon as she started speaking, and it showed. I was like, oh damn.
Yeah. I was like, when
I think the sound I made was, ah.
I
a
was
little,
like-
little less definitively, oh damn, and a little more like, am I inventing this memory, retroactively, or is this the thing that I recognize?
which just brings me to one of my favorite lines from Deckard in the movie, where Wallace has dressed up Love to look like Rachel, and she's like trying to seduce him, and he's just like, her eyes were green.
So good, and then she gets
Or
shot in the head.
other replicant made to look like
the
Rachel.
recreated
Yeah.
Recreated
Rachel.
Rachel's like,
Her eyes were green.
green.
But can we talk for a second about how imposing Love was?
Yes.
Like, she was a super Terminator and just
Yeah.
chill to the max.
Yeah.
Because she starts off seeming very human.
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very human. And then that moment where you see her eyes change.
Yeah.
Like, just that moment of like, rage, and it's like, whoa! It was pretty amazing.
And then the little hints at it when she's taking him down to see the memories and stuff, and the
Yeah.
door gets stuck. And she's just casually just pushes this, like,
Yeah.
18-ton door to the side.
Like, he named you. You must be special.
No, that was some good stuff.
Yeah.
That's
You are
some
my
really good
you
stuff.
are my angel, Love. Like
And-
I just
and-
love.
and-
I
and-
just
and-
actually loved like how weird Wallace was. He was so like eccentric, like a total guy with a freaking god complex because
Yeah.
he literally creates life
Yeah.
every day.
I
So,
like it. Oh, you don't have any children.
no, nor do you.
And
What
you-
is it?
Oh
And
right, I
I've-
have millions.
I have millions.
Yeah.
That scene where he crash lands after he sort of gets shot down or harpooned
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And then she's giving the drone strike orders while getting a manicure.
Yeah.
It-
Just like
what an
casually
outs-
get man to the left. Fire.
future gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but in that scene, the backbreaker
Oh,
that Gosling pulls off, it made me go, yeah.
Yeah,
Because you keep forgetting
That
that
he's got...
he is really strong.
He's trying so hard to be human. It's not like
Yeah.
he's flaunting his strength,
Yeah.
but when he's threatened, then it's just savage.
Yeah.
So surprising.
Yeah.
So, whoa. Yeah.
And that's what makes him a good hard-boiled detective.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
He's cool and calm, but he's a badass when he
Yeah,
needs
he's
to
a
be.
badass. Like
Yeah.
I do not want to fight Ryan Gosling.
After the movies he's done, nah.
No.
No,
I
me
mean,
neither.
have you seen Drive?
You know, I would probably take Nice Guys Gosling in a fight, because he's an absolute, like,
Bumbling idiot.
bumbling idiot in that movie.
It's just a
Yes.
facade.
no,
just
no, it's not.
Jason, the actor's pretending.
Yeah.
What? No.
Wait a minute. Here's a
Actors aren't
sub-theory.
allowed to
Maybe, like Ryan Gosling is playing the same. He's been playing Kay in all of his movies. Because if you
Just
look
with
at it
different imprints.
just with chronologically. So The Nice Guys is in the 70s. Drive is in the 80s. He's done a couple of movies set in the 90s. Like, maybe he's all just been the same character.
Yeah, and they've just been improving the software throughout. Yeah.
These shared universes are just
Yeah,
blowing
it's
my
just getting
mind all the time.
crazy.
But also, here's an important question. Speaking of shared universes and film franchises, does this film need a sequel?
No.
It doesn't need a sequel, but Blade Runner didn't need a sequel.
No,
Yes,
it did not.
that is true, but I kind of
So-
hope they leave this for a little while to just
Yeah.
kind of become its own thing.
Yeah, I know exactly. You don't want it sort of to be part
Give it a
one
decade.
of an epic
Yeah.
trilogy.
Like, give
Yeah,
it a
you want
decade.
to you want to come back 20 years from now when Gosling's a little bit older.
Yeah.
You know, and like you sort of have like not him obviously, but like
A
a
recreated version
recreated
of
model.
him.
You know, like or something like that, or just some
Well,
other new actor.
I mean, Wallace is still alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's still making, and it doesn't need one. But if they announce that sort of the same team was on board, they've got another story to tell from another part of this universe,
Oh, then I'm down.
Yeah. Oh,
and then it's
100%.
just yes, please give it all to me.
If Villeneuve and Deakins work on another Blade Runner movie, I will go watch it without even thinking about it.
Well, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't.
But I mean, that's I guess that's what you get when you have the same screenwriter for the first one and the
yes,
second one.
that is true.
Blade Runner Spring Break 2051.
Oh man, that'd be so cool.
But
All the
now,
replicants in the house, think of your shirts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
a-
to kill Marcus.
just another thought that occurred to me. I am now more than ever excited to see what Villeneuve does with Dune. Because he's attached to that Dune reboot that's been in development hell
As a director?
Oh really?
as a director. Yes, he is.
I am ready.
Yo.
I am ready for
my
that.
Body,
You're ready for
My
that.
body's ready.
Right.
When is it
Especially-
coming out? Can I go into just like a coma until it comes out?
No, no, no. They haven't announced the rest of the cast yet. I mean, I'll Google quickly to see. But if it's Villeneuve and Deakins again for Dune,
Jeez.
like, I'm just gonna come out and say it. This is like Blade Runner 2049 is a genre-defining masterpiece.
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah.
like
It just
modern
is.
sci-fi.
Of several genres.
Yeah. Can you believe that we had Dunkirk and Blade Runner 2049 in the same year?
Logan was this year too. Don't forget that.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So where
Honestly,
does Blade
though,
Runner fit in your?
For me, I'd say Blade Runner and Dunkirk are perfect films. Logan, I could nitpick and take off a 0.2 or a 0.3 here and
Yeah,
there.
that's fair.
Like the ending in the forest, sort of with the kids and stuff. There's sort of little tiny little rough edges, which make that just say a 9.1 out of 10. Hey, I'm IGN.
Hey, Dion, your scale
Man.
goes from 7 to 10.
But for me, Dunkirk and Blade Runner are perfect films. Like there's nothing I would change personally. There's nothing I would change about either of them. There was nothing when I watched them that irked me. There was never a moment where I felt taken out of them. I would just watch both of them slack-jawed.
Yeah.
It's what Mad Max was for me as well.
They're also the two movies this year that immersed me the most.
Or-
They're the ones where I felt most a part of the universe rather than,
Yeah.
oh, I'm watching a movie. It's like, shit, I'm having this experience.
Yeah. Maybe a better term than perfect movie would just be focused.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were focused. They were unconcerned with being a studio film with demographics. With
Yes.
you never felt like there were focus groups for Dunkirk.
Yeah.
You never
No, they
felt like there
weren't,
were
because-
focus groups for Mad Max. Or for Blade Runner. You just feel like these are film. Okay, obviously Dunkirk is sort of historically based, but you felt with all of them that everything was worked out behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They were giving you glimpses into it, but this world is real, coherent, and complete. And nothing in the films ever felt jarring, and you don't get that a lot. But I do take issue with people saying things like classic cinema is dead, when
It's
films
not.
like this are being made.
Yeah. And how like people are constantly asking where are the new visionary directors?
Like they're making films every day. You just don't go watch
Yeah.
them.
And I'm just gonna say if people ask where is the next great American director, I'm gonna point to Villeneuve and say there, go watch his movies.
Yep.
Even though he's French Canadian.
That's part of America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Like
sort of
North
culture.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, Blade Runner, solid 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Solid 6 out of 10.
Solid 6 out of 10.
Ayo.
That's gonna wrap up our sort of kind of disjointed Blade Runner discussion.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Alright, thanks
There
for
we go.
listening, guys. Cheers.
Ooh. Last thing. Edward James Olmos' his little part in the movie.
Yeah.
Where he's in the old age home.
The old age.
Oh, yes.
And he just, he just brings back his character by just doing that little bit of city speak, and then he makes a little, like,
Origami.
Little
origami sheep.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, that's all I needed from that character, to know that he's still alive and that he still has his thoughts.
Yeah.
That was just a perfect little cameo.
Yeah. That's
So
it.
good.
Okay, bye for realsies.
Bye!